Hey, podcast listening people, welcome to, of course, it's going to be another exciting episode of the B2B Mentors podcast. I'm bringing you guest experts, business practitioners, marketers, and those that you can really learn from. My favorite practitioners. They're in the day-to-day on leadership, business development, marketing, sales, growth, you name it. And I'm bringing it to you absolutely free. So, I guarantee you're going to get value out of this. Do us a tiny favor in return. Make sure you share this. If not only for you, I guarantee you there's someone else in your network who's going to get great value, especially from the guests that I have here today, who's, we've connected over the last couple of years, gotten to know him pretty well, and someone I actually very much look up to, a leader, a true practitioner in marketing. He's the president of Abstrakt Marketing Group. Titan 100, top 100 C-level executives in St. Louis, co-host of the Grow Show podcast, and a bunch of other accolades that we're going to talk about, and just very impressive in the agency world, which is not easy to hack. I mean, if you've ever been in the agency world, I know it. And even just being in business nowadays, there's so many nuances and roadblocks from marketing and growing your business, which you guys are experts at. Maybe we can talk about some other areas, and then also growing and developing and leading a team. So with that, my friend, Eric Watkins, welcome, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Connor. Happy to be here. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while, so I'm glad we were able to get together.
You're a busy man for good reason. You got a lot going on over there and a lot of exciting growth happening. And give, just some context. Like, what was teenage Eric like? Were you the entrepreneurial guy? Were you like, I'm going to go into corporate, I'm passionate about marketing? What kind of set you off into this particular career path?
Sure. All right. So we're going all the way back to teenage Eric. That's scary. It's scary to think of teenage Eric. No, I played a lot of sports in high school. I was class president in high school. I had, I would say I was driven for sure. Captain, like leadership experience in everything that I did. And then I would say I went to college, and, I enjoyed myself in college, and I probably lost a little bit of that. And I think what really turned things around for me is when I interned. Actually, I started Abstrakt Marketing Group 12 and a half years ago. And when I started as an intern, I saw this company and this opportunity of, we were at about 30 to 35 employees, but they had really big plans to grow and scale the business. And that really lit a fire under me. I was like, all right, it's go time. I feel like to sum it up, I feel like I had it in me. I just needed to bring that out when it came to the business world. But I'd be lying if I told you that I thought I'd be the president of a $70 million company at 33.
What did you think you'd be doing otherwise?
My whole family was teachers and coaches and, education and coaching. And I feel like that's probably what I thought I was going to be doing for a really long time. But I did always have sort of aspirations to run my own business at some point. I don't know. It didn't go any further than that. It wasn't I had a full baked out plan of how to get to that point. But I would say probably if I had to pick one, it'd be teaching and coaching.
Which you are doing essentially as a president. Like you're applying those skills, and I don't think people realize that, like, being president of a $70 million company at that age gives you sometimes a better foundation. Most businesses don't make it, right? Only 10% of all the businesses out there ever break $1 million. I know personally, it's tough to do. It's harder and takes longer than you think it does. And so, it's a very particular skill set you have to have, being essentially an intrapreneur, right? A growth driver. And I know a lot of people that listen to this show are that kind of intrapreneur. They're there. There's a big opportunity in front of them. What is it that you've done to essentially refine, culminate those skills to be a really good growth driver from within versus, entrepreneurship's a very sexy, shiny object people like to chase, but sure. It's a totally different beast, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, great question. So I would say looking back, I had no strategic plan. So I would have loved to have heard, someone talking about this on a podcast, because I don't think it's a topic that people really talk about enough. But the best advice in looking back, just trying to reverse engineer, how did I get to this point when I had an opportunity, and how did I capitalize on it? I think the biggest thing was being adaptable to move into different positions throughout the company. So if I look back, I started as an intern in operations. I did onboarding. I moved into the onboarding of all of our new clients, what we call implementations here. I did the SDR role. I played the sales manager role. I played the account management role. I managed sales. I did product. I did when I look at it, as I've moved through the organization, having a well-rounded skill set of the different facets is, I think, what really propelled me to continue to move through the organization. And I think that's kind of, it could be a little common sense of like, oh yeah, you need to play different roles to have the experience. But what's not common sense is there were pay cuts taken along the way, or there was, when I moved, when I decided to stay in the partner sales manager role, which was managing SDRs and accounts, instead of going into a sales role in the organization, I'm giving up on financial opportunity, which I knew I could have done sales and I could have been successful with that. But I knew that I needed to really hone in on these leadership skills and increase my business acumen, which I'd have more ability to do here. So I think, long story short, if you have that opportunity, if you're in a growing organization, play as many different roles, but focus more on the skill set that you're gathering versus the money that you're making, and keep working hard and having a good attitude, and everything else will work out for itself.
So you're a long-term thinker, which has obviously made you successful. You've taken short-term, haircuts on the immediate financial for probably much greater financial opportunity by taking the time to invest into yourself, to learn those skills. And I think that's something, I've taught a lot of peers of ours, and either they're a marketing director aspiring to be a CMO someday, or a CMO aspiring to be a CEO or a president, is, sales, I don't need to learn that. That's not the category I go into, or operations or client retention. Like, no, this is my skill set. That's going to get me there. But I think it's so critical to hear people like you talk about that, because you do, like, you need to round yourself and take the risk. I mean, it's a total risk for you to do it, but pays off in net gains if you can have the patience to learn about it.
Sure. And the one caveat I will say is you can't you can't have the luxury of going into every single position that you'll eventually oversee. But what it does is it gives you the skill set to dive in, learn a role quickly, thoroughly understand what people are doing there, and then be able to adapt on how to improve and how to take it to the next level. So I use that, which I gained in going through these different roles, with every new position I take over. I like to really get hands-on and understand what's going on, if I'm going to help lead and develop that.
And you can do that without having to go in those roles too. I mean, how many marketers could go listen to more sales calls,
right,
or account management? Run a couple.
Yeah.
Listen to the call. There's so many different ways to do it. Do you, just especially the theme of the podcast, is there like you're a wise dude. Is there a mentor that's really given this to you? Have you done this a lot through trial and error? Have you invested in mentors, coaches, or, how have you, again, really refined a lot of these insights to get you to where you are today?
Sure. Great question. I would say I've been really lucky. Our CEO has been my mentor. He has, I've been reporting to him since I was 25, when I first became director of the sales center, and he's run and operated multiple businesses. So just the sheer knowledge I get from his experience along the way. And he's also pushed me outside of my comfort zone in different areas, of where I'm like, hey, I'm really loving this implementations role. I'm getting really good at it. It's comfortable. I'm making good money. And he's like, you need to go over here. A, we need you here. B, it's a huge opportunity for you to take your skill set to the next level. So I got to give him a lot of credit. And then probably around the same time, 25, I really committed to reading. I I don't know. Some people love reading, some people don't. I was in that category. I did not love reading. And then I really started looking at it as an investment and okay, I could read this book, and not that everything's about money, but the skills that I learned in this book could help me make X on the back end. It just helped me justify the time. And I read really slowly. Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, I've been through 100 books. Like, I'm thorough and I take notes. And that's probably been how I've got a lot of my experience, because I just look at, you can listen to podcasts, which I love. I know we're on a podcast right now and somebody will take something away, but there's something about a book that somebody has gone through a lot of life experience, and then they'd have to reflect, okay, what were my biggest takeaways, and really put a ton of time and thought into it.
Yeah, you see a lot of people, oh, I read tons of books, but it's all useless if you're not actually putting any of it into practice. What are, if top of your head, if not, that's okay, maybe like a couple of the books that have really been pivotable. That's a word, right?
Pivotal, right?
Yeah,
something
pivotal.
like that.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I knew it was there somewhere in the
there's somewhere in
the phrasing. Couple of those books that have really, you've really glommed onto, and even to this day you use regular, practice and things that you've learned or acquired from these books.
Sure. Yeah. The first one, and this is like my first recommendation for all new leaders, is 5 Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. And the reason why I like that one so much is because when I started as a leader, my definition was like, I took a lot of pride in, oh, I helped this person, so now they can do this. Like, you get into leadership. Why? Because you want to help people. You want to help make them better. And when I read that book, I really started to understand that it's really about what your team can do without you is the true definition of a leader, is how well is your team if we were to pluck you out and move you somewhere else for a while. If they can still perform, then you've empowered them and established those skills within the team. So that was just it sounds, I think it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people, but people still go into their first management position wanting to be liked, wanting to help others. So that one of the ones that is more recent is The Happiness Advantage. And I just read it again for the second time we do a leadership book series. And this one's just about that success doesn't bring happiness. Happiness leads to success, sort of the chicken or the egg. And it goes through some of the science behind it and how they come up with that. And I just think it's so true of just in specifically what I do, there's things coming at me every day. My day could be terrible or my day can be great. It's 100% a choice that I make every single day. So that book has really helped me buy into that. And then I would say from a mechanics of business standpoint, Working Backwards, which is the book about Amazon and how they grew and developed their strategies to get to that point. There's just a lot of really core lessons, obviously a super successful business, and not everything applies, but a lot of things in there that are just like, wow, I see how this business turned into what it did.
Yeah. So, by the way, to give everyone context, and I want to dive into a lot of like the technical strategy that I think would help a lot of folks as well in understanding how you've applied this. It's helped the business grow, 30 employees. I can only imagine what they're doing at revenue when you first started to, 70, and you guys are growing rapidly from there as well. What is, Abstrakt? And people know, some avid listeners of the show, I don't bring other agencies onto this podcast often. It's very, very, very rare. And so there's absolutely something, strategic that I have to see out of it that makes sense to give people information. Because, a lot of agencies, you got to be careful with that kind of world. So you guys have done it right. What is Abstrakt Marketing? What do you guys do? Who do you do it for? Give a little bit of context into that.
Sure. Yeah. So the easiest way I can put it is we're a sales development company. We're based out of St. Louis. We have 500 plus employees. We do 70 million in revenue. And our focus is how to build predictable sales pipelines for our partners so they don't ever have to worry about where their next lead is coming from. And we do that through cold calling. We do that through emailing. We do that through LinkedIn and social. And we do that through web development and SEO. We also have 2 other branches of our company that are big in their own right, that creative agency doing all the graphic design and video work. We have a Abstrakt Talent Solutions, which does staffing for our clients. And we have Cloud Solutions, which does Abstrakt Talent Solutions. And then we have Cloud Solutions, which does Salesforce consulting, primarily focused on the Salesforce product and how to set up your infrastructure. All of that being said, at the end of the day, we generate high quality leads for our clients so they can close deals. And all these branches of our company have really grown from trying to do that better. So that's really our mission at its core.
And I think the core root of what you guys are really, really good at is that SDR, side of things. Of the 500 team members, you mentioned 200 of them are that SDR kind of role.
Correct.
Personally, hired SDRs, worked with companies with outsourced SDRs, been through, all of that. And I know many people listening have been through that as well. What is the secret sauce to making, SDR successful? Because if they're not, especially in enterprise account-based marketing, you're not just selling water bottles, you're selling higher dollar, higher ticket offerings. SDRs are absolutely critical. It's a first touch point oftentimes with that potential client in your business. 99% of people fail at developing out this part of their business. So what is the secret strategy behind that?
Sure. Well, I would say I'll give you the secret sauce. I will say that I probably would say no if I had to try to rebuild this from scratch again. And I'd probably do something else. So it's been quite a journey to get to this point. And what makes it a little tougher for us is we represent, about 1,500 clients between our Bionic and Outbound product. And you got to think those are across 100 different industries. So you can't just train an SDR on one message in one industry. You have to train them on multiple. But we've been able to do it. So I would say the biggest differentiator that we have here is vision. So everybody that comes in the door, we understand that the majority of these individuals don't want to be an SDR for the rest of their life. So we have 28 different career paths that they can shoot for within Abstrakt Marketing Group. So they don't have to go play this role and then go worry about putting their resume out there and jumping to a different company and continually job hopping. We create that opportunity from within. So do they want to get really good at the role and then manage a team? Do they want to manage accounts? Do they want to go to sales? Do they want to go to operations? Do they want to go to our marketing division or our recruiting division? But you have to, step one, you have to create vision so your team is motivated, because the SDR job is not very easy, right?
Let me pause you on that real quick, because I think a lot of leaders are like, yeah, of course I paint vision. When I go in and I do the interview with them, I let them know, hey, we've got lots of career path and growth and opportunity here, and eventually you can grow into this or do this. Is there a different way that you're either visually or communication wise painting, the picture of that future, vision for them?
Yeah. So we fully bake out our numbers. So for example, we look at our budget for the year. We know what our retention is going to be to a certain degree. We know what our sales is going to be to a certain degree. And we know how many new clients that's going to represent. And then all of our growth in Outbound will determine how many of these support positions we add or positions within Outbound. So I know going into a year, I can stand up at a vision meeting and I can say, we're going to have 10 new sales managers, 10 new team leads, 5 partner operations analysts, et cetera. So it's not just like, yeah, there's vision and growth. It's like, no, this is exactly the positions that we're going to hire for. And then we celebrate the hell out of it when somebody gets promoted. And we go back and talk about, okay, over the last quarter, we've promoted 17 individuals. These 5 went into this role. These 12 went into this role. That way, it's real. I think that's the difference that a lot of companies make, is they stop at, we need vision for people, versus like, what is the specific vision? What's in it for them? Why would they want to play that role? And then once they're into that role, they want to know what's next. Like, everybody wants to know what's next. VPs on my team, they want to constantly know what's next. Like, they want to be really good at their role, but it's just the world that we've created here. So I would say that is the core one of the core differentiators.
Don't paint the vision on how you feel you want to go, but literally attach it to the numbers, and they can even just from the numbers see, oh, these are opening up. Here's what's happening. Here's in line for this. Here's the person that started where I'm at, and they're here. You've made it more tangible than, again, I think still, and I've certainly made this mistake as well with employees is, yeah, one day and we have ambitions for this and ambitions for this and that, but haven't really, actually shared the details of numbers, with core staff members.
Yeah, I think that's one lesson we learned along the way. And granted, it's a lot easier when you become more established and you have a track record of certain numbers, and it's a little bit more difficult early on, but it's not impossible. Like, you can still do it, because at the end of the day, you should have a sales goal. You should have a retention goal. You should know what that growth will do to your business. And you should know how many people, you should know like the workload a position in your company can take on. So it's really tough probably when you're sub 20, 25 employees. But once you get over that number, like you should probably find a way to be able to do it. But also it just becomes more and more important.
Yeah. And SDRs can come in so many shapes and form. They could be 45-year-old person who's changing career paths. It could be someone fresh out of college. It could be someone from a totally different, like an IT background, but some of them are the best because the way their thinking works. So many different kinds of personalities can fit into SDRs. Again, it's no curiosity why you guys have been successful with it. What else besides the vision, painting that vision has been critical for, developing SDR success?
Sure. So I guess the two other things, if I just had to boil it down to three things, one would be consistent approach with the talk track. Because if you can imagine trying to call across multiple clients in multiple different industries, and I'll go a little deeper into that. And then the third thing would just be our culture. So everybody's here in person in St. Louis, which is different than a lot of companies. If you walk through our building, you can feel the energy. We have roles that where everybody on the team plays a role within the team, and you really lead from within. We celebrate the hell out of every appointment. We mark it up on the board. You play the sound, the music. Like, there's a huge culture advantage that we have here. But on the talk track side, we talk about two things: memorize your intro and memorize your closings, like your ABCs. Because those are going to be the two most uncomfortable parts of the call. There's nothing like, I believe in, there's 10 different intros that could work. There's 10 different closings that could work. But ultimately, just having one that you memorize. And I believe in two concepts I really believe in is making sure people know why you're calling, and they know why you're calling them specifically. Like, just confidence and tone, having it memorized, and getting those two things out of the way, or getting those two things in your intro, you're going to be more successful. And then closings, I say closings plural, because you should have multiple ways that you're closed. You're not always going to get people on the first close. So have your closings memorized, because those are the parts of the call where, at the beginning, you sort of feel like they don't want to talk to you. And at the end, you're asking for the business, so to speak. You're asking for the meeting, but
people remember nothing in the middle, but they always remember the introduction. They always remember what's happening at the end.
Right. And in the middle of our call, we talk about relevant topics. Yeah. So no matter the industry, you have 3 relevant topics per client that you call on behalf of. And these are common problems or priorities that these businesses would be focused on. And then we do a 3-question stack, which is how are you handling, or what's your current situation? What are the most consistent issues you're dealing with, and what would take it to the next level? And that's it. And then when you get good answers and they respond, you actively listen, you dive deeper. And then if you ever get to a point where something's over your head, or you don't quite understand where to take the call, you use that as an opportunity to pivot to the meeting. As you get more familiar with the client, you go deeper, but that's just kind of having that framework. We're able to ramp SDRs in 2 weeks. They're able to perform in their first month, when a lot of people are ramping, taking 90 days to ramp. And then after their first full month, we expect full expectations.
Almost one. Yeah, almost. I'd probably say what percentage of agencies do you think, whether they're lead gen or creative, are remote nowadays?
Majority. I would
Majority.
say
Probably
80,
80,
85, maybe.
90%,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. I'm almost certain that you guys are still doing it in person has something to do with the growth.
100%. And you saw it with our business when we went through COVID.
Yeah.
We had no choice, but everybody went remote, and we weren't the same. Like we missed a lot of what made us us. And so the roles, just to go into that real quick, every team has a unity officer, a branding officer, a metrics officer, a development officer, and a celebrations officer. So these are like 5 core. It's kind of like our values of like these 5 core components need to be involved in every team. So then an individual within that team plays that role. So if I'm a sales manager, instead of me trying to pull 10 people in one direction, I'm utilizing and empowering my team to be able to do that within. So if we need to train the team on something, I'm utilizing my development officer to help support. And how could we make sure the team's a little bit more trained on this? Or every appointment that somebody gets, I talked about celebrations, we make sure everybody on the floor celebrates. So we go all the way. We have silent celebration tools that we're waving around. Every team has its own brand. I talked about the branding officer. So you'll have one team out here is Game of Phones instead of Game of Thrones. And then they have all the decorations up, and everybody on the team has a nickname. I mean, that is the real secret sauce of people say it's cheesy or it's stupid, but like it's fun. Like that's
yeah, it is cheesy and stupid if you feel like it's cheesy and stupid, but being successful, sometimes you need a little cheesy and stupid.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So the culture is obviously a big piece of that, and growing what you did. Where were you guys roughly at when you started off with Abstrakt?
We're about one. I want to say like 2 million. 2 to 3 million probably in annual revenue.
So low 7 figures to multiple 8 figures. Culture, process, what else has been, from that 7 to 8? I think so many people are stuck there from 7 to 8, seen it tons of times. 8 to multiple 8, those kind of stepping stones. What have you seen has been done differently, when those hurdles, those ceilings eventually get hit?
Yeah, I think that people build their company on individuals, and then that doesn't scale. So at a certain point, and we did as well, right? At a certain point, to be able to go to the next level, it has to be built on your processes and not your people. And I'm not saying the people aren't important, and I'm not saying you shouldn't continue to invest in them. But to scale at the level you'll need to scale, it's hard to keep up the talent density that got you to that point. So I feel like that's one of the things people don't make the pivot quick enough of, yes, Johnny is at 130% of quota, but the way Johnny's doing it isn't going to be the same way that our next 10 people that are coming into sales need to do it. And so we're going to have to make a decision of, do you get Johnny on board, or do you keep Johnny over here, but everybody else has to do it this way? And that's a really tough thing for a business to do and commit to. The other thing, just from a strategy standpoint, is there's riches and niches. So we grew 50% of our business is in what we call our core industries, which we have focused on, built out, know the messaging, know the market, and it just makes it that much easier to scale and grow. And so if you're trying to be everything to everyone, at a certain point, that's going to be tough to replicate and to scale. So we've made a commitment, but those would be 2 things outside of just like scaling the SDR function that I think are pivotal.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. See what works and then just scale the crap out of it. But even the riches and niches, I think everyone's like, oh yeah, I know that. But 99% of everyone who's in that too, they probably don't even go near to the level of depth in their niche that they're able to really top out at before they start to be like, the shiny object syndrome starts to creep in, and executives do this, entrepreneurs do this. It's very common. Staying incredibly principled and focused on what you're doing is like everyone would be $1 billion company if we were like so perfectly focused.
Right.
It's probably one of the bigger reasons, many businesses struggle to grow. ADD.
Yeah, I'll give you an example real quick. So a company, let's say random company right now, they're working with 10 companies in IT, and they're starting to figure it out, and it's going well. But they're getting all these web leads and software. And so the web leads, they have a lower pitch per deal. So the more, if they can do fewer pitches and get more deals. However, these clients stay 1/4 as long as these clients over here. So they're not looking at the entirety of the business development formula or the lifetime value of the client. And so if they did, what they'd probably realize is though, okay, it does take it does take double the pitches to get an IT deal, but they stay 4 times as long. So instead of focusing their energy on IT, they continue to let's pour more money into SEO and digital and get more of these deals because they're quick and et cetera. And I think that's the people who are spinning their wheels at $10 million. They never made that really tough choice, which might sacrifice our sales in the short term to be able to grow our business for the long haul.
Dude, I knew this was going to be good, but this stuff's really good. I really hope you guys are really, I'm going to go back and listen to this again. There's some massive golden nuggets there. And I know we're short on time, so I don't want to keep it too much longer. Just what is, first off, anything last minute you want to just highlight in 60 seconds real quick for everyone listening? I've shared with you who our audience is, if you want to touch on that, and then just how people can contact you, follow you,
sure.
See what you're doing.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing, and you've probably learned this if you're already an entrepreneur or you're in your journey or you're in a growing company, is like nothing is clean. Like there's no formal playbook. You just do this, you'll get to here. It's just lessons, and it's how you engage with points of impact within your business. So I think, soaking things up like that and talking to people who have been there before. Anybody that's in this situation, I don't care if you compete with us or you don't compete with us. Like I'm a big believer in there's enough out there for everybody. So please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to anybody further, but just kudos to what everyone's doing. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you're actively trying to grow your business, it's hard. And it takes a lot of work and energy and time and effort. And I just kudos to you, and it will pay off. Like you keep doing the right things, it'll pay off. If you want to find us, we do the Connor mentioned this. We do the Grow Show podcast. We talk about themes of how to take your business from $0 to 50 million plus in revenue. We go through some sales tips and tricks, some sales enablement tips and tricks as well. And then follow me on LinkedIn. So Eric Watkins, and I'll share things from that Grow Show or just post from time to time. And then our website is abstraktmg.com. It's spelled with a K, abstraktmg.com.
Yeah. And I'll put that up there, and I would encourage anybody who's sitting there, and, of course you can go out there's many companies in your arena who do what you do, but the proof is in the pudding that you've actually scaled and growed your business to a significant level. Like and so that says more than even just the service of what it is you guys provide. You're your own best practitioners. Those are the kind of vendors that you need to look for to hire. So, Abstrakt, mg.com, and you can check if you're just like, these guys have it dialed in. I don't want to go build it. I'd rather just, it'd be cheaper for me, make more sense to have an expert team who can do it for me, getting meetings, getting sales calls set up, check out that abstraktmg.com. And then for you, man, super grateful we got to do this. Well worth, the wait to make it happen. Well, there's like a whole nother hour of things I want to dive into. So we'll have to do a part 2 at some point and check in with you guys in the near future. But Eric, thank you, man. Really, really appreciate you. Grateful for you. And all of you listening, make sure you follow, subscribe, all your favorite podcast apps. And much love to you, my friends. We will see you on